A New Salem native trying to decide what to do in life after graduating, James Franciere, better known as Jim, followed his older brother Matt to college at UND. Now, little did he know, however, that he'd take a path a little closer to that of the uncle he was named after, James Jimmy K. McAleer III, who was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, flying for an outfit called the Sidekicks. Today, he tells us about his nearly 27-year career that started in the United States Air Force, then entered a completely new service branch, the United States Space Force. The United States Space Force was not even a blip on his radar when Jim Franciere graduated from New Salem High School. But being a sci-fi fan, one conversation with a recruiter in 1996 showed him a whole new world he wanted to be a part of.
They said that I could, among other things, work with satellites. One thing that caught my eye was that I could help the space shuttle with re-entry. And I thought that sounded, pretty appealing.
Ultimately, Franciere got to do just that, assisting with a mission involving the space shuttle. But that's not where it all began. After completing basic training for the United States Air Force, Franciere attended tech school at Vandenberg Air Force Base, now known as Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. This would be where a majority of his Space Force training and other missions took place. His first assignment and work with space surveillance was at Eielson Air Force Base, Alaska, now called Clear Air Force Station, working on a radar site.
It was what's referred to as a ballistic missile early warning system, BMUS, a radar site where we watched for ballistic missile launch attacks against North America. And we also did some space surveillance where we watched for satellites and other objects in space orbiting Earth.
Alaska was also where Franciere got started working as an instructor. He was then selected to go to Woomera, Australia, which was a ground site for the Defense Support Program satellites and IR.
We assisted with not only ballistic missile warning, but also with some other missiles, space launches. So we would watch for any launches around the world eventually that we're putting a satellite up into space.
After a short stint as an inspector general at Schriever Air Force Base in 2001, Franciere was selected to go to Vandenberg Air Force Base to be an instructor for GPS satellites.
I really enjoyed teaching, and so I got to put in a lot of hours teaching, had a lot of great students come through, and then these are some of my favorite patches. Master instructor, you have to go through a number of different hours of teaching before you get awarded that.
In 2005, Franciere returned to Buckley. He says the Aerospace Data Facility Colorado National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO, was another great experience.
Debris in orbit poses significant risk to satellites. I mean, it's big space theory, but we try to track as much as possible to prevent that. Either way, an anti-satellite, though, being able to take out our satellites that we perform these missions with, pose a significant threat. And that's ultimately why the Space Force was stood up, because there is a threat to our capabilities in space.
In 2015, Franciere was selected to attend the United States Air Force Weapons School at Nellis Air Force Base.
This is my class from 15 Alpha, probably the best class to go through weapons school for the Air Force and probably Space Force.
Franciere returned to NRO, back in charge of weapons and tactics for that site.
I think it was my best assignment as far as the people and the missions and what we were able to accomplish.
Then he received a call from one of his old bosses.
He was like, hey, you want to come to the National Space Defense Center?
Franciere helped with training and webs and tactics. He says all of the satellite command and control, GPS, SPSS, and the Defense Support Program are all essentially sitting targets for the weapons developed by our adversaries. The Space Defense Center was meant to help organize our nation's defense against that. But ultimately, change was in the air. It was 2020, and Franciere had a few opportunities to move on with the Space Force. But by this time, he and his wife Monique, who is in the reserves and nearing retirement now, knew they wanted to be home, around at least one of their families.
I sort of realized that retirement was in the books. Sort of ended it where I started it, because I went back to the University of North Dakota, where I originally was going to school, and ended up teaching ROTC.
Franciere officially retired from the military in 2022 and decided to take his family even closer to home to raise his son Matt and daughter Jamie back where it all began, New Salem. Today, they live on a farm northwest of New Salem, working the farm, raising cattle, rodeoing, and much more. He also landed a job working for Patch Plus Consulting from home, continuing the work he loves by helping to identify different types of information that can help commercial operations on the space side and looking at some satellite command and control. He says it's the best of both worlds, getting to tell stories.
I will take a look at a space launch for vehicle, like a new type of technology going to low Earth orbit, report on that, and then in the afternoon go out and rake and bale. Before I'd work ops, and then I'd come back and help on the farm, we'd brand or whatever, and then I'd go back to it. Now those things have kind of reconciled to a certain extent, and it's really kind of worked out very well.
And Franciere says while attending weapons school, you get to petition for a call sign. So he petitioned for Sidekick in honor of the outfit his uncle flew for and got to go by the name for the remainder of his career. Franciere is also one of the first, if not the first, North Dakotan to retire from the Space Force. Thank you so much for your service. Keep it with us here this morning on